think of his boy, Andre.
The opening of this movie isn't bad. The movie does well showing the audience some backstory of the main character when he was a kid, which helps the viewers understand more what the character was taught by his dad.
He taught you to follow your conscience, to not take anyone else's word about what is right and wrong. Find a just code in an often cruel world.
To how his career as a cop has been going.
You shot 8 people in 9 years.
Good shootings, cleared on all.
To how his family situation is in the present day. And it all happens in the first 6 minutes of the movie.
Being a cop isn't a choice for me.
What is it then?
DNA.
Chadwick Boseman. There's really no other cops around here to prevent them from escaping.
It's Andre, right?
Yes, sir.
J.K. Simmons is always a win.
Narcotics.
Beautiful. What could go wrong? We got a narc and a trigger.
You know, you better have perfect diction calling me a trigger.
Going rate for a cut key in Manhattan is 32 G's. That means after $1 million to us, that's still 5.4 million for you.
He is one of those detail-oriented
Okay, I think it's time to look at the actors and the acting and the dialogue. And it's gonna go in the good category. The movie does a good job making the characters in the movie multidimensional, relatable, and have the opportunity to develop over the course of the movie. Dialogue is good as well, as it does a nice job facilitating the story and reveal the characters. There are moments of constructive dialogue in the beginning parts of the movie that accomplishes the task of furthering the story and revealing the characters to the audience in a memorable way. For instance, the beginning scene in the car with the two guys joking.
Hey, does yours smell like your beard?
It smells like your girl.
Lets the audience know right off the bat that these two are friends, and not just some random guys that was put together. And subtle moments in dialogue like these help flush the characters out even more and help these characters become relatable in the movie. And this is what makes Taylor and Stephen good in their roles. Chadwick Boseman is also great in his role as Andre, as the movie also does a great job displaying who Andre is and what he stands for from the beginning. And the film also does well showing the audience why Andre is a good detective with the scene of him solving the crime scene, while also letting the audience know of his record from the beginning. J.K. Simmons and Sienna Miller are good in their roles as well, as their inclusion enhances the story. So with that, the movie earns a 5 out of 5 for actors and acting and dialogue.
Doing right now.
Get your fucking hands off me.
What? What?
Man, this movie is underrated and Chadwick is so good in this movie.
What precinct are you from?
Okay, I think it's time to look at the editing in the movie. And it'll go in a good category. The editing in the film does a nice job conveying the movie's tone, and the movie does a nice job displaying a consistent tone throughout the entire film. Also, the few practical effects that are used in the film are displayed well also. So with that, the movie earns a 5 out of 5 for editing.
Michael!
Alright, I think it's time to look at the music and the score of the movie. The music and the score from Henry Jackman and Alex Belcher isn't bad in the movie and doesn't take away from the overall viewing experience. It does actually enhance the viewing experience in certain scenes, making them a little more intense. So with that, the movie earns a 4 out of 5 for music and score.
Take the car, cut him off on the other side!
Okay, I think it's time to look at the directing and the cinematography in the movie. And the directing and the cinematography will go in the good category. Director Brian Kirk does a nice job not overcomplicating the shots with cuts during certain action scenes and keeps the directing good and simple throughout the movie. The cinematography is good as well, as it does a nice job utilizing creative camera work that helps tell the story within the camera frame. And that's why the directing from Brian Kirk works for this movie. So with that, the movie earns a 5 out of 5 for directing and cinematography. Even though this chase scene isn't bad, I do feel Michael should have gotten hit at least once. I mean, none of these cops can aim. Okay, I think it's time to look at the genre of the movie, which is the action. And the action will go in the good category. The action delivers in the movie for the most part, as director Brian Kirk does a nice job not including too many cuts during the action scenes, hindering the viewing experience. Instead, he lets the action scenes flow properly, and the action in the movie ends up being good and believable. So with that, the movie earns a 5 out of 5 for action.
I gotta go. I got a visitor.
Got it on my stoves. Who's your partner?
Okay, it's time to look at the plot and the story. And the plot and the story will go in the good category. The plot and the story explores themes of justice and corruption that would usually come off as cliche, but the plot and the story still comes off as authentic. And that's because the film does a nice job keeping the viewers engaged by setting up the twists in the movie with the cops being the real bad guys. And it starts with why Andre was on the case in the beginning. It was already known that Andre was supposedly the cop that shoots first and asks questions later, so it makes sense why J.K. Simmons would call him in the first place to help cover up his mess by getting him to kill the guys.
I heard you were with I-8 today, and I'd love it if you were right back there tomorrow.
Other subtle hints that the cops around him were in on it was Frankie randomly asking Andre if he's the type of cop that they say he is, because she has a daughter to go home to her leaving and answering a random call after they found the boyfriend at the club. And these subtle hints that are placed in the movie help makes the plot and the story more entertaining and much more enjoyable. And the characters such as Andre, Ray, and Michael help make the plot and the story more compelling and relatable. So with that, the movie earns a 5 out of 5 for plot and story.
Or you could just look the other way.
I'd rather look the devil in the eye.
Yes. This is another good shot in the movie with the film showing the audience where both characters are in the scene before the action starts up again. Okay, so now that we have all the numbers in the movie, it's time to add them up. So the movie ends up with a 4.8 out of 4.5, and that gives it an A rating.
You know, you better have perfect diction calling me a trigger.